Hey guys, it's M4J here, and welcome back to the M4J network here on OpenTTD. It's been so long since I last said that line, because in the live streams, of course, I never said that. I would just come up with some really weird spiel for good evening. But yeah, welcome back to the M4J network. The streams are over. They are finito. We are back to making videos, making time lapses to be more precise. Once again, I feel like the right decision was made there. Technical issues was a big factor, but also just the fact that streams weren't fun anymore. In all honesty, streams were not fun anymore, and I hate the fact that I have to say that, but it's true. So we're going back to the videos. Hopefully the series is salvageable because of that, but if not, then there might be another decision to be made. But for now, I'm not worrying about that. Today I am worrying about speed limits. So you can see here I've got the game open. I'm currently getting rid of the depot here at Gronwell. You'll see me fix the hills here, as well as doing a couple of other little bits and bobs here and there. One of the great things about doing these time lapses is I can just sit and listen to music, for example, whilst I'm playing, or I can be on Discord doing other stuff. In this case, I think I was actually watching a live stream, which is really good because it kind of distracts you from the work. I was just getting on with this quite autonomously and not really thinking about how long it was going to take. Because what I'm doing here, of course, is the speed limits for the East Coast Mainline, which is why I've got Chrome open in the top right corner there. I say top right corner, it takes up almost half the screen. But I'm going to go through here and create all of the speed limits for the East Coast Mainline, right the way from Gronwell, which is in the northeast corner here, down to Milieu. I still can't properly say it right. I think it's Milieu. I think it's Milieu. It means middle, anyway, or centre. Well, centre means centre, but yeah, middle, because it's in the middle of Suum. Which we discussed, was it 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago now? Long time ago in the grand scheme of things. You can tell I've not done this for a while, can't you? So yeah, we're going to be doing the speed limits. There's a lot of waypoint placing and renaming, plus the actual speed limits themselves in the speed limit sheet. So I've pretty much told you what's going to happen in this episode, so while it's playing out, why not go through some monthly rail news, because again, it's been such a long time since I've done this. I've actually, just before I started recording this time-lapse, I had to copy the footage over from my new desktop to my old desktop, because that's where I keep all of my files, all of my important files. Apologies if you can hear pages turning in the background, by the way, because I tried to remember all the news and I couldn't. There's quite a lot of news actually to get through, so I probably really should get a lick on. But yeah, it was a 140 gigabyte transfer. 15 videos, 140 gigabytes, and it took 25 minutes. I love Ethernet. It's one of the greatest inventions ever. High-speed Ethernet. It's just awesome. I love technology in general, but to see something like that is so satisfying. I should probably just do random data transfers every now and again just so I can see it all go. Anyway, that's a really nerdy thing to say. Rail news. So the big one really is Northern have been stripped of their franchise. I think most people know my opinion on that. The fact that there is a quote here. Staff will transfer to the public sector operator on their existing terms and conditions, and no jobs will be lost. So it doesn't necessarily say that they're not hiring new people, but it says no existing jobs will be lost, which is a good thing because you don't want to see anyone unemployed. However, there's also a quote a little bit further on where they talk about, where is it? They're going to improve things like capacity and performance, and a lot of the problems are infrastructure related. They're going to upgrade some key routes. Network Rail are going to upgrade some key routes. So basically, an operator of last resort has now taken over Northern, which is a government setup, basically to a bit like LNER and East Coast back in the day. It's government run, government subsidised. But all the existing staff, rolling stock, infrastructure is exactly the same as it was 2 months ago when it was run by Northern. And that therein lies the problem for me, is nothing has actually changed. It's not like suddenly the stations are going to grow bigger overnight, or the track is going to magically fix itself if they leave magic beans by the line side. It's still the same infrastructure. You could slap any badge on it you like. You can have anyone in charge of it. It won't change anything. Until Network Rail actually deliver the promised upgrades, nothing will change. And at which point, you can quite happily say it is not Northern's fault that they've lost the franchise. It's an impatient public and an impatient government. But that's just the opinion of a content creator on YouTube. Another thing which I mean, this is kind of a and finally type story, but there was a Class 745, one of the new Stadler units on the Great Eastern main line. It broke down at Forest Gate, which is in London. As far as I'm aware, I believe it's in east, sort of northeast-ish London, and it took 5 hours for them to recover it. 5.5 hours after the train originally failed, a second-class 745 was brought alongside and the passengers were transferred. This, again, is fast, because a loco actually went out to try and recover the train, but it was found that neither of the two couplers brought to site was suitable, the first having an air leak and the second being incompatible. An investigation revealed that couplers at both ends of the Class 745 had been damaged, which prevented a universal coupler being attached. How does a train's couplers get damaged and no one noticed? That's question number 1. Question number 2, the couplers that were on the loco that had an air leak and the second being incompatible, how does that happen? This is 2020, for crying out loud. How do you send out a loco with the wrong equipment? You know what type of train's been stranded. Send out the right train to recover it. It's stupid. And there's an editor's note in this magazine to do with complex coupling problems. The fact is, there's no two train in this country at the moment that has the same coupling as another. Even because back in the day you could have a pacer and it could couple up to a 153 and operate as a single. Let me think. The 153s were the single car units, weren't they? So it can operate as a 3-car train or a 4-car train if you've got a 3-car pacer. These days you can't do that. You can't couple an HST to a Class 90, for example, unless you use a universal coupler. And it just seems like a really short-sighted thing. I know manufacturers have their own couplers, they like having their own designs and their own styles, but there should be something that you can use to couple two trains together, or better yet, a locomotive to a train, so you can recover it. Because how often do trains break down at the moment? It seems to happen all the time, and yet there's no fix for it. It's really, really dumb. So East-West Rail Phase 2 has been approved. Now, I haven't actually read this story. I probably should have read it before this. But the work will begin between Oxford, Bedford, Milton Keynes and Aylesbury. So a lot of the Bedford to Bletchley route still exists. In fact, pretty much all of the Bedford to Bletchley route still exists because it's currently part of the Marston Vale line, I think it's called. Again, I do know these things, but trying to recall them off the top of my head, I get really fuzzy memory sometimes. But it's operated by London North Western Railway under the London North Western brand, and they run the D trains, the 230s, backwards and forwards along the Bedford to Bletchley route. It's quite quaint from what I've seen. I've seen quite a few videos. Jeff Marshall's made a few videos of it that I've seen, and it's quite a quaint little route actually. I might check it out one day. I'm still in that sort of limbo mode at the moment of, do I go out and do some urban exploring on rail, or do I just let someone else do it and watch the video? I don't know. It's a bit too cold for that right now. Maybe in the summer I might go out and do some exploring. But yeah, Phase 2 will restore passenger services between Oxford, Bletchley and Bedford after a hiatus of more than 50 years. To achieve this, track and signalling will be upgraded between Bicester, Bedford, Aylesbury and Milton Keynes. The disused Bletchley to Claydon Junction line will be reinstated, and the Claydon to Aylesbury Vale Parkway via Quainton Road will be upgraded for passenger use. Now, Quainton Road is somewhere I used to go a lot as a kid. It's where the Buckinghamshire Railway Centre is. So to actually see that line upgraded and brought back into passenger use will be good, but at the same time, there's a railway museum that spans it, so I'm not quite sure what the future will be for that, because they don't run trains on that main line. It's kind of segregated. There's like fences that run either side of it. But at the same time, if it's brought back into regular use, say a train every 30 minutes, it kind of will spoil the atmosphere a little bit in many ways, if that makes sense, because it's meant to evoke memories of the 50s and the 60s steam haul trains and all that kind of thing. And they have a little demonstration line on one side where they do back and forth with the passenger train, and they have a freight line that does the same thing on the other side. But then if you have like modern trains zipping through every now and then, does it ruin the immersion? It kind of does. It's still good, don't get me wrong, I'm not disputing that. But it's just one of those things. I'm being very nitpicky, by the way, because I think the East-West Rail link is vitally important. As almost as important as the rail links that are being greenlit up in the north. Things like High Speed 2, Phase 2A and B, also the Northern Powerhouse. In my opinion, it's as important as those, because the East-West link is the best way to get from the Great Western Main Line, or at least the section of the Great Western Main Line that runs up to Oxford, right the way across to the Great Eastern Mainline that runs up to Cambridge, and it links all the other main lines in between. So you don't have to go into London and change trains anymore, or go up north and come back down. You'll have a ready-made link right through the middle, and I think that's really, really, really going to be beneficial to the country as a whole. Go ahead for High Speed 2 in full. Again, we kind of touched on this in the last stream, but Phase 2B plans face further scrutiny. I think that bit does need rework. I think Phase 2A and B needs reworking. I kind of want to see fully high-speed segregated tracks all the way up as far as Manchester and Newcastle, and then maybe run on classic lines up to Edinburgh and to Glasgow. But I mean, that will cost an arm and a leg as well, so jury's out on that one as far as I'm concerned. But the designs for Old Oak Common look awesome. I really, even if High Speed 2 doesn't go ahead fully, I still want them to build that station, because again, it's a vital transport link and it will boost the regrowth in that area of London. Because people do forget these things. There's been transport projects in the past that haven't happened for whatever reason, but it still sparks the regrowth, and then you end up with this huge new residential area and nothing to serve it, and then something ends up getting built. A good example of that is the DLR. Some of the places that are now being served on the DLR were technically served by North London Line. Forgot the name of it then. So if you go out to places like Woolwich, that used to be on the North London Line, and then North London Line kind of got a bit disused and run down, and they turned it into a single track along that section, and then the DLR came along and took over some of that route, and now Crossrail's taking over more of that route, and it sparked this huge regrowth again. So, you know, sometimes these things happen in reverse, but again, it's for a good cause, good benefit, and it does tend to turn out reasonably well in the end. So it's not the end of the world. Other big news, this one's kind of big for me, it might not be big for you guys, but Eurostar have started their through trains from Amsterdam to London. So last year, was it, or the year before, 2018, through trains went from London to Amsterdam, but not in reverse. To go from Amsterdam to London, you had to change at Brussels and go through security there. Now, they seem to have sorted out the immigration section at Amsterdam Central, and I think also at Rotterdam as well, because the Eurostar does also stop there. Immigration screening and waiting areas at Amsterdam and Rotterdam, yes. So there is still, again, I'm not sure if this is a good idea or not, but basically now, when you get on the Eurostar at Amsterdam, the front 8 carriages of the 16 carriage Class 374s, which are the Velero trains. Again, I know these things, it's just recalling them. The front 8 carriages will be for passengers from the Netherlands to Brussels only, while the rear 8 will only be available to passengers from Amsterdam and Rotterdam to London. And then what happens at Brussels is everyone on the front carriages gets off, and then people who are boarding the train from Brussels to London then get on. And I guess at that point it becomes an all-in-one train. I'm not sure how they regulate passengers not moving between the front and back of the train. I don't think it's safe to lock the door, because if there's an incident you might need access to it, and you might not be able to get to wherever the lock is to be able to unlock it. So I don't know how viable that actually is, but it's happening. The first service from Rotterdam will begin on May the 18th, and have the ones from Amsterdam already started? April 30th, there it is. It'll start on April 30th, with ticket sales opening on February 11th, so it's already happened actually. It's, what, where are we now? I'm technically recording this on the 4th, even though it's now telling me it's the 5th. So you're watching this on the day I'm recording it, if you're watching it on the day it was uploaded. What other news? The CAF factory in Newport is open, but again we've kind of touched on that in the past. Worcestershire Parkway has officially opened. That was on the 23rd of February. I was waiting for a station opening video from Jeff on that, but hasn't happened yet for whatever reason. But you know, I'm sure he'll get round to it. I've been reading a lot of his community posts on YouTube. He's got some good stuff planned actually. The Tyne and Weir Metro video is one that I never knew I was waiting for, but apparently I was, because now he's mentioned it, I'm kind of excited for it, which is a really, again, nerdy thing to say. So that's pretty much it for like the headline news, but if I skip to the back, I've got to remember what page it was. I did remember, here we go. So Croydon Tramlink is going to be getting an extension to Sutton that will run from Collier's Wood down to Sutton Station itself, and it will connect with the existing infrastructure at Belgrave Walk. I don't know much about the Tramlink, so I don't know if Belgrave Walk is a particularly populated stop or not. Currently, TfL hope to get the full funding in place for a 3-year project that will begin in 2023. So it's going to be 6 years before it's completed, providing it is done on time. But you know, I think that's good. I think it's a good thing that they're still expanding. Sutton is one of the only areas, one of the only places in that area of London that isn't on the tube map. So it sounds like a well-needed extension, even though it is heavily served by rail. Of course, you've got the main line that runs through Sutton. You've also got the Sutton Loop, served by Thameslink. But it's always nice to have these little extra options that people can use. £425 million it's going to cost though, and it's not that long a journey. So you work out how many million that is per mile. In fact, does it even say how long the journey is? No, it doesn't say in distance. It does say it will reduce the journey time from 37 minutes down to 21. So that is a significant saving. That's like, what, a third off pretty much. So over a third in fact. So that is very, very encouraging. Beyond that, there's some rebuilding of tracks going on here, there and everywhere. There's a £22 million station project serving the White Rose Centre on the outskirts of Leeds that has taken another major step towards construction. New stations is always exciting, because again, I mean, these aren't even beaching reversals, these are just new communities that have sprung up that are now being served by new stations, and it's always nice to see that kind of thing. Northern opened their new £46 million Wigan stabling facility, although I know Northern would still have been in charge. February 7th that opened. They spent £46 million on a stabling depot, which they've not really had the opportunity to use. I'm very bitter and salty about that, in all honesty, because everyone's going to see it as, you know, this is the start of the new beginning, but it could well have been anyway if we just left things as they were. Who knows? Hindsight is a powerful thing though, so we'll see how this plays out. And then I think there's some rolling stock news. Again, apologies for the page turning. I really should like write these down on a Google Doc or something so I don't have to do this, but there we go. The Grand Central liveried Class 90. I did see pictures of it on the last stream, I think it was, or the stream before. I don't like it. I like the black and gold, or like the orangey gold. I don't like this black and yellow. It kind of looks like a cross section of a bumblebee or something. It really doesn't do it for me. Particularly when you've got the Grand Central logo on the side, you can quite clearly see the differences in colour. I don't know. LNER plan to retain some Class 91s. This is big news for me actually, because it kind of proved my point a few months ago. I said, are the Azumas really going to take over everything? And the answer is no, because LNER have now discovered that their December 2021 timetable change. They will not have enough trains to cover all of the planned and current future planned services. So they're going to be keeping some Class 91s with Mark IVs. The exact number is under discussion, but industry sources suggest the number could be 15 locos and 10 Mark IV sets. So, I mean, that's a significant number. Let's assume that 2 will be kept as spare. So they're essentially 8 Azumas short right now. That's a bit of an oversight, in my opinion. That is a bit of an oversight, but it's good to see that 91s will be kept around. Trans-Pennine Express are getting more new trains into service, particularly the Class 802s. What they're called, the Nova 1s, aren't they? Because they're the fastest. The Class 769s, yep, the converted 319s, they're going to Wales. There's going to be 4 sets currently entering in the summer, and then the remainder will be entering in the autumn. There's going to be 9 in total. I'm speeding through this a little bit because I'm looking at the clock and realising that I've only got a couple of minutes left to actually round all this up. So overall, things are starting to move in the right direction again. The last big news is 2 Class 91s are going to be used on the overhead line. I've forgotten what the E stands for now. Equipment. Overhead line equipment monitoring train. Which again, it's always nice to see. I mean, I'd like to see them in passenger service, maybe even freight usage if absolutely necessary, but it's always nice to see that they will be kept around, and they'll be helping keep the lines open as well, which is always a big thing. That's pretty much it for the rail news. You can see we're coming to the end of the time lapse as well. I'm just doing the last few waypoints and stations and things like that. You can see me I take pauses here and there because I'm either typing in the stream chat or I'm chatting on Discord, wherever it might be. I'll try and avoid doing that in future if I can. I think that one actually, I was counting how many waypoints I actually needed in order to make this work. Yeah, I think I was. But yeah, we're coming to the end, guys, so I'm going to stop talking here. The music will play for the last minute or so. And then next week, we're going to start running some actual trains. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you enjoyed the series. Drop some comments down below with ideas for future episodes. Also head over to my Reddit community and leave suggestions there, or head over to my Discord. Discord is the best place to get in touch, but if you've got videos or images that are too large for Discord, you can always send them on the Reddit community. It's what it's for. Besides that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. And until next time, I will see you soon.